Excellent. Hi, everyone. My name is Ore Kolade, and I'm the technical manager for this session today, which will be chaired by Dola. Thank you so much for taking part in ANH 2022, and we look at an interactive session today. A quick reminder that everything you might need to access the conference materials and program can be found on the ANH Academy website. Before Dola takes the conversation forward, I have a few technical announcements to make to ensure that our experience is as smooth and interactive as possible. I'm sure you've heard most of this before already, but just a reminder anyway. First, this session will be recorded and posted on the ANH Academy website following the conference. Second, all participants have been muted, but please introduce yourself in the chat box using the chat function. Later in the session, we will open up the conversation with a Q&A session. If you have questions, we invite you to share them in the chat box throughout the session, although we'll also open up the floor for those who want to speak their questions out loud as well. If you'd like to contact any presenters or participants, you can simply click on their ANH Academy profile and send them an instant message. Actually, I did that already this evening with Dola. I just sent him an instant message and he received it. So it's a really good function. If you can't find their profile on an events page, you can always look for them in the ANH Academy membership database, which contains a full list of all 6,000 plus members around the world. You might have noticed that in some of the sessions have that on the side events, so just to let you know that. So thank you so much, and over to you, Dola.
Okay. Oh yeah, good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good day from wherever you are joining us. Yeah, it is my pleasure to welcome you to our session. The session, the side event of African Food Research Network at the Agriculture, Nutrition, Health Academic Conference 2022. We are a group of professionals, that are advancing the science of food and nutrition from the laboratory, industry, and trade nexus. We believe in this mantra because we know that over and above the novelty of science, it makes no sense if it does not connect with the industry and the trader segment of the value chain, because these two are the ultimate distributor that are going to take the science to the end user. And so that's why we are trying to set up this orientation on the continent. So we have representatives in each African country, as many as we can gather, and so we are all trying to advance food and nutrition science through the Nexus. All right, today our session is going to kind of reorientate us as to the least common mission that professionals in food sector should be handling together, and that's why we are going to start by introducing ourselves. We are a consulting non-profit organization, a network of professionals, as said. We advance food and nutrition science through the nexus of industry, trade, and partnership. So you can begin to ruminate over the kind of professionals that we have, or the angle from which we are coming from. We are going to be we are rethinking science in a nutshell, and that's who we are. So I'd like to start by whetting our appetites, about what an ideal situation should be in between research and business. Research is supposed to churn out dependable data, that the industry can utilize, to make sure that they deliver healthy food product, as that is the product that connects with us, healthy food product to the populace, and also increase the country's or the national or continental GDP by way of a business. If this is an ideal situation, the question then to ask would be that in Africa, where we are concerned about, what is the relationship between research and business? We'll find on research the stakeholders that are listed on the left, and you also find those in trade and business investment on the right. In case I've missed out any stakeholder, I'm sure they will be connected with any one of these listed ones, But I made this presentation more particularly to draw up what the situation is in Africa and what we would like, the change that we would like to happen, and the role of research scientists in this mix. Research and business are supposed to be collaborators, and policymakers are supposed to be the platform within which a budding and sustainable relationship continues to exist between research and business. Unfortunately, those that are supposed to create that platform, those that are supposed to make that policy to ensure that we have a consistent relationship, they are politicians, and the language of politicians seems to be different from everybody. And what do we see? That we lack funding, we lack equipment, facilities to turn out credible and dependable science that will be picked up by industry. So the industry usually generate their own science, which most of the time academics sometimes criticize, which most of the time is not, it doesn't go well, for clean chemistry, but we can't blame them, and so they try as much as possible to have research and development, departments, but we don't see ourselves as collaborators, and they don't come to academic and research to generate hypotheses, that will ultimately improve the delivery of food and good and nutritious food to the society. So what we see is what we manage in terms of the food that is being distributed in the society. Okay, but that's why we think that we are the ones that, as professionals, we are the ones that should generate solutions by ourselves. And how do we do this? We need to rethink what we do when we meet, what we do when we meet each other. That is, and where do we meet each other? It's usually conferences and summits. So the question to ask ourselves is that our conferences and summits, are they usually academic or professional? In my own view, in the view of many of our members in AFREN, they are usually too academic to churn out sustainable solutions to the society that we are responsible to. And so we feel that the science that we operate mostly are coded science. We publish, like the adage that they say in the academic environment, publish or perish. If you don't publish, you don't get promoted, you don't get advanced in your career and all of that. But these publications, the solutions that we put in there, do they actually get to the street where the challenge is, or the people that actually need the solution? This can happen if we have a paradigm shift actually. Then we talk of interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary conferences, but in delivery, in implementation, are they actually multidisciplinary? So in AFREN, we have a suggestion, and the suggestion is born out of the fact that we are still struggling with the answer to this question: that are we really meeting expectations? So how do we unpack this? We try to see, okay, what are the expectations from the society? And the Association for the Study of Food and Society actually put this in perspective. And the perspective is very similar to how AFREN is thinking. And they believe that the science of food must connect with the society at the society's level. Because why we exist is actually because of the society. So if we make our science too deep, less open, the solution won't get to them. And at the end of the day, the business people who most of the time are not necessarily scientists, or do not necessarily understand the science of the food, we keep churning out the food product that the populace are going to be eating. But in Africa, because we don't have traceability and epidemiology system, and our forensic, when it comes to forensic to trace the causes of illnesses and all of that, is still not advanced. So we couldn't trace, most of the time we are unable to trace the source of non-communicable diseases to the food that are being consumed, that are being produced by quacks. Forgive me to use that word, it's because of the lack of a better word. But when you see our SMEs, micro enterprises, and the way they produce their food, you can't blame them, because they are business people. They will think about business first. So what is the least common mission that we are suggesting? We are suggesting that science should be made open. And in making science open, it is very easy. in our conversation and implementation, we need to be open. We need to be deliberate about making science open. And how do we do this? When we meet at conferences and summits, we should be able to set out like 5-year strategic plan, 5-year goal, such that we can then come up with clusters from the industry, clusters from the scientific community, the laboratory, and clusters from the traders on the street, the street vendors and the likes, the micro enterprises processing clusters. We need them because they are the one that ultimately distribute or produce to the end user. Because if you can't give them good science, they are going to sell their own kind of science. And so when we hold summits and conferences, we must be deliberate about making sure that they are part of the conversation. If it is any strategy that could make them, to be part of the conversation, we need to start looking at such a strategy. Not to take too much of our time, I have a suggestion that can work in this regard. That let's look at the summit, for instance, this kind of summit that we are in. We need to have an overall objective, and that is quite clear. We do have overall objective, but we need to break such objective down into clusters, into the laboratory clusters, into the industry clusters, into the traders clusters, and let this team actually align to the overall objective. They are going to have their own objective that they are going to set up, rising up from such a summit. And then individual, of course, either you are a laboratory scientist, you are a food research scientist, you're a lecturer, you're a professor in a particular field and all that, you need to then be able to decompose or cascade these objectives into how you come up with your hypothesis and the kind of research that you do. That way, we will be relevant into the overall objective. And so, the end step that we are going to now do is to now start measuring and start tracking the activities of these clusters each time we then meet, so that we'll be measuring how far and how fast we are moving. And by this, we need performance management as a component of our summit and our conferences. And with that, we'll be able to review progress. And during the time between the previous session of the conference and the next one, we'll have documentation and conversation that can go on virtually anyway, that can go on by email, that can go on by Zoom meetings and all of that. So that at the end of the day, by the time we are meeting again, we already have smart objectives again to deliberate on, by measuring the progress that we have been able to make. But when we have something and everybody comes to present, and we look at the novelty of the science, we hear the person, we say, okay, it's fine, and we go back to our respective places. We have not helped the society solve a problem if we continue to do it that way. So if we have clusters that see themselves as partnership in progress and come up with relevant objectives to individual clusters like that are clearly defined for them and is balanced in such a way that when the outputs finally come together, we are going to be addressing a particular issue or some issues that are food related in the society, since that is our area as agriculture, nutrition, and health practitioners. And that's why I'm mentioning food, which is relevant to us. But this can also be adapted into other field of science, as the case may be. All right, so what are we suggesting in a nutshell? Yeah, we are suggesting that our summit should be society driven in terms of the goals that we're trying to achieve. Then we should be deliberate on partnership, the kind of clusters that we build and we bring together. Then we should encourage private sector conversation, the laboratories, the research objectives, and the trade and investment initiative in it need the private sector conversation. Those are the people that are driven by motive, and they are driven by motive and they deliver to the society. So it's going to be win-win situation for everyone. The motive that drives a professor or a scientist is different from the one that drives a businessman. But ultimately, they are partners in progress if they have the orientation that we are trying to suggest. Yeah. Then government need to play their role. They need to play their role in sense that okay, they need to come up with governance innovation. And by doing this, we also need to participate and be involved in politics. When we say be involved in politics as scientists, we need to get interested in who becomes, the health minister, the food processing minister. For instance, food processing minister is not a position in many countries, but there's a country that has food processing minister. It means that they value science and they value the relationship between health and the food that we consume. So they evolve a ministry dedicated for that. This need to also spread around. This model need to spread around African continent. By the time we have this kind of orientation, we need to keep tracking our performance and progress. And by this, we believe in our friend that if we start, designing our conferences and summit this way, the continent will be better for it, and also the global community will be better for it. Thank you very much. And my colleague will take it from here to talk about the relevance of science in homes, and also the role of food safety across the value chain, and the challenges of the stakeholders and how to mitigate these challenges. Isi will also come up to talk about food marketing and how it all makes sense from science to the society. Thank you very much. I'm going to now stop sharing. I will allow my colleague to please share his screen. Professor Badino, over to you, sir.
Good day, everyone. Kindly allow me to share my screen.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm being disabled from screen sharing.
All right, you want to assist us in that regard?
Okay, 1 second. I thought he could actually, but let me. Okay.
So I'm saying host disabled participant screen sharing.
Okay, 1 second.
Okay, thank you. So when that is going on, let me start by saying good day to everyone that is here joining us in this meeting. My name is Adewale Olusegun Obadino. I work with the Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta, in the Department of Food Science and Technology. I'm here today to talk on a topic: food safety in Africa, challenges and opportunities. As a way of introduction, Africa is known to be the world's second largest and second most populous continent after Asia. And it has also been documented that 30.3 million kilometers square, including adjacent islands. This is where Africa is covering in the whole world, and this is 6% of the Earth's total surface area. And it is expected that this number, as at 2018, which was 13 billion people in the continent, is about 16% of the world human population. With this huge number of people in Africa, there is a crisis of food security. And this has made it serious to the extent that close to 1 billion people are not having access to affordable diets. Therefore, there is need for African agriculture to undergo a systemic transformation if you want to meet the rising food demand. And also, if you want to address the public health burden of foodborne illnesses among the most vulnerable population in the continent. And as we know that the continent is experiencing rapid expansion in the area of agri-food markets. And this has been fueled by the high population growth, rapid urbanization, and income growth within the continent. But we need to note that the future development of food systems must be accompanied by cross-sectoral and intergovernmental efforts to reduce the challenge of foodborne diseases within the continent. Africa as a continent has the world's highest per capita incidence of foodborne illnesses. And it has also been documented that about 137,000 lives in a year are being claimed as a result of these foodborne illnesses. Foodborne illness presents the challenging of this, which is also known in the simple ways by which we can categorize these challenges. I've tried to put them under 5 headings here. And number 1 is the problem of hazards being carried over from the raw material to the final goods that we consume. This hazard can be microbial and it can also be chemical in nature. It is also noted that there is unacceptable trade activities by processors and sellers of the foods that we consume in Africa. It has also been noted that most of these foods are processed under unhygienic practices and environment, most especially since many of the food that we consume in this continent are obtained from open markets. So it's a big challenge. There's also this problem of post-processing contamination of our food, even though if the processor try as much as possible to process the food safe, under a safe and hygienic condition, we still have a lot of post-processing contamination that affects the safety of the food that we consume. Lastly, I've also tried to put some other challenges under improper storage practices, which is also a big challenge in this continent, and improper food safety knowledge by majority of the players along the value chain. But the good news is that we have opportunities. Yeah. Of recent, the African leaders met under the platform of African Union, and the Malabo Declaration was made on agricultural produce. And to be able to achieve this declaration, there's been a link between food safety and agricultural development in order to integrate investment by African nations. So when we're talking about agricultural development in the continent, the issue of food safety is key. And this declaration has also made it possible to ratify the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. And this is expected to boost intra-regional trade of agri-food products by almost 70% among the 54 countries within the bloc. And the idea is that food products will be able to move among different countries within the continent. And if this is going to happen, it means that the food have to meet up with the expected regional standards in which food safety is key. So we can say that there is a great opportunity, but we need to key into these opportunities. Now, how can we achieve these opportunities? And this is where all the people along the the stakeholders along the chain have to now be involved. The government, the policymakers have a key role to play. And this is that the political momentum in food safety by these policymakers must continue at high level. They need to make decisions that will ensure that policy objectives and resources are invested to modernize food control system. Once this is done, we're sure that we're going to have more safer food for consumption and also for trade, and people will get more money and there will be good health. The academia also have a role to play in the area of data collection. When we talk about food safety challenges within the continent, most of the data that we use are data that have been generated and provided by organizations outside the continent. But we need our own data. We need to know who are those traders, who are the informal people involved in food processing. What is the major challenge? What are the major hazards that we need to tackle along the food value chain? In terms of the microbial, in terms of the chemical hazard, we need to get all this data right. So the academia has a role to play in this, and also the research institute. The consumers need to be enlightened. There's need for awareness. There is for communication. There's need for a group of people, NGOs, the government, to raise awareness about the problems of food safety within the continent, and also let them know why they need to do why they need to do this and why they should not do this, and what are the solutions. When we do this, the consumers will be aware. They will know what they need to do to make their food safe, and also the processors will know what to do. And this can be achieved if we are ready to do it. There is need to teach and help the informal sector on how they can go about abiding with the SPS measures and the TBT requirement, rather than working on policy. Of course, the government, most of the time, they generate policies, they produce policies, but the challenge is that the actors that need to work on these policies to make them work, to make them get the objectives and the outcomes are not really aware. And how can we make this awareness? A program like this is one way of doing this, and we also need to go out there and talk to the people along the food value chain and make them to be aware of all these challenges. There is need to establish standards. We need our own standards within the continent. There's need for harmonization of regulations and equivalent of standards between countries. So there's need for the continent to come up with standards that is meant for the continent, and at the same time, which every player within the value chain in all the countries can also integrate into, and that is going to be simple and easy to comply with. And this requires the increased coordination among African countries. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prof. In quick succession, we will then have Dr. Beatrice Ogana Ikujayo to make our presentation. Dr. Beatrice, please let me know if you can see my screen. I'm trying to share your presentation.
Okay.
Yeah, over to you.
Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah.
So
Good evening and morning.
Sorry, Doc, we can't hear you again. Is it connectivity or?
The Department of Home Economics, Lagos State University of Education, Auto Janiki, Lagos. Now, I would like to start by reminding us and letting us know that the knowledge of food and its chemical composition and the function food performs in the body is a rudiment to understanding how to manipulate foodstuff to obtain its maximum benefits to health. And I also know that we should not just be eating to stay alive. we should actually eat to ensure health and wellness at all times, particularly in these austere times arising from the COVID-19 pandemic and the resultant inflation of foodstuff. It is important that every individual and families equip themselves with the basic skills of how to manipulate foodstuff through food selection and meal planning. Actually, most times people just eat what is available. They don't really make deliberate plans on what they are going to eat ahead of time. And that is why most times when we eat, we don't derive the benefits of what we have eaten because we have not arranged or manipulated it in a way that will get the optimum potentials of the food we eat. So all family meals prepared and consumed must be carefully selected and planned, and a meal timetable written out and pasted for all to see, so that when that is done, everybody looks forward to what to eat, and it sort of adds excitement and making food consumption more essential to and important to the individual. Apart from all that, doing this will also reduce the monotony of eating the same kind of food all over the time, and we also provide variety among other benefits. Most times, even though we are blessed with tons and hundreds
We've lost your sound.
So I'm saying that for us to achieve this, we have to apply the principles of meal plan.
Can you go back a bit because we lost your sound at some point?
Okay, where can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
So where was I? Did I go off?
Just pick it from the last that you said.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm saying that family meals should be prepared, should be well selected, planned and prepared, so that we consume them. And after planning, there should be a meal timetable written out and pasted for all family members to see. Maybe for the week, the meal that will be prepared for the whole week is pasted in one corner of the room, so that people look forward to eating. And when you do that planning, you find out that you are going to be providing all the foods that will meet the nutritional requirements of the individuals and families according to their needs, their physiological composition, and the job they do. And also, apart from that, this will also reduce the monotony of eating the same kind of food all the time and add variety among other benefits. And as a home economist, we usually am advocating that for us to be able to plan these meals, for us to get all the benefits of the nutrition that we consume, there is a 6 food guide pyramid, which has been advocated by a very seasoned nutritionist over the year, Professor Rete Enobong, and I'm going to talk about them. And if we apply them and use the food guide in planning our meals, we will be guaranteed of the adequacy of the meals we consume that will meet our daily food requirements. And the 6 food guide pyramid is, the first one is, we have the starchy roots, tubers, and seeds. On a daily basis, mostly they include meat, seafoods, legumes, nuts, and seeds. These are good sources of animal and plant protein, and also rich sources of minerals. We have the examples include seafood, the crabs, crayfish, meat, fish, organ meats, nuts, granules, almonds, and so on. And we also have the third group, fats and oils. We all know that these are high density energy foods, but the significant part of fat and oil is that they are very rich in fat soluble vitamins which are the vitamins A, D, E, and K. I'm not going to go into the functions, but let's just go through so that we get the benefits of this presentation. While the fourth food group are the vegetables. And when we talk of vegetables, we are talking about the leafy vegetables, the fruit vegetables, like the tomatoes, the okra. Then we have the leafy vegetables, the pumpkin leaves, the celosia, the spinach. Then we have also immature seed vegetables like arona beans, green peas, and so on. And they are very high sources of dietary fiber and vitamins and minerals. Then the fifth group are the fruits. These are our conventional fruits, the oranges, banana, apples, tangerine, and all that. They are also good sources of vitamins and minerals. And the final group is the sixth group. I call them other foods. There we have our herbs and spices, condiments, seasonings, and other food additives. You all agree with me that there's no way we prepare our meals at home and we don't add all these condiments. And it will be interesting to know that this condiment also can be used to contribute significant amount of micronutrients into our daily diet. And they are also rich in phytonutrients. These are not actually nutrients, but they have been known to contribute significantly to the health and wellness of individuals. Example are the lycopenes and the anthocyanins. Three food stuff from each group in preparing just one meal. This is important because one to be productive, we have to ensure that we enjoy good nutritional status so that we'll be able to contribute optimally to all that we do, whether in our job, in our workplaces, or in our voluntary activity, or even at home. Because we know when when you are healthy and there is absence of disease, it helps the psychology of the family, apart from the physical worries, is also reduced. We all know what happened during the COVID-19 pandemic. It was those that had health issues that were more affected. And studies have shown that when you enjoy good nutritional status, even when disease comes in, the effect of the disease or the infection is reduced. So after planning our meals, and we have now had the amount of food from each group represented in our meals, there's also what I want us to note that will help to ensure optimum health and benefit of the food we are consuming. One of them is the knowledge of basic science of food and nutrition, where we bring it into food preparation. For example, in the cooking method we are going to use to cook, we should use methods of cooking that conserve nutrients in the food, so that even though we have done a good selection and planning of our meals, in the preparation itself, we don't use methods that help to compromise those nutrients and sort of destroy them. So we use conservative cooking method like steaming, then boiling the food with just enough water that we cook the food, so that you don't need to expel the leftover water after your food has been cooked. Because when you do that, the nutrient that has leached into the cooking water is lost, particularly the micronutrients and the minerals that are heat labeled that will leach into the cooking water. Then I also advocate that we cook our foods whole, particularly the tubers and the roots. You wash them, cook them first before peeling, because when you do that, you retain the nutrient within the food and there is no wastage, because during peeling, we waste a lot of food stuff peeling before preparing. But when we cook and now peel off, you find out that it's the thin layer of the skin that goes off easily, like the cocoyam, the potatoes, and so on. Then I also advocate that we wash our fruits and vegetables before cutting. It's a very good skill and technique, because when you wash, you remove all the microbes and all the dirt and all the trash. Like Professor Badino said, food safety is key. So washing helps you to also reduce the contaminants in the food, in the residue from the fertilizer that we are using growing the food. You wash them first, then you cut. So, and when you cut your fruits and vegetables, you consume them or you cook them immediately, and you don't cook them for long. Because mind you, why we do that is that most of these nutrients, like I said earlier, are heat labeled, so they are likely to evaporate, especially the vitamin C content of the food, when you cut them and leave them over time on the table or on the counter before using them or consuming them. Then there are some fruits and vegetables that you can consume raw. Why cook them if you can consume them raw? Like the carrots, the cabbage, the cucumbers. Why blanch or cook them? When you cook them, you're also compromising the micronutrients that are heat labeled. So the ones that can be eaten raw should be eaten raw, but should be washed properly so that you don't take them and it causes food contamination. And if possible, don't overcook your foods, because overcooking the food reduces the flavor, it spoils the taste, and also apart from reducing or damaging the nutrient content. Then I want to talk about what we now known as new foods to us, Africa, particularly in Nigeria, which are not really our indigenous food, but they are foods that have come up as a result of technology and food processing. Like we have our noodles, the Pringles, and all those foods that are processed into other foods. Yes, most of them are very high in carbohydrates and fat, but no problem, no worries. While consuming them, we can enrich them with our natural fruits and vegetables, and we can also add our eggs to eat, because eggs, why I'm advocating eggs, especially for the growing children that need a lot of animal protein. We all know the cost of meat now, but egg, when compared to other foods, are still reasonably cheaper. So you want to make your noodles, why just cook your noodles and add the ingredients? You can chop some carrots into it, add some peas, add onions, add pepper, add crayfish, then break an egg into it, and you see the flavor oozing. And apart from the flavor oozing, it's also very, very nutritious. My parting shot tonight is that we all know that Africa, we are blessed with hundreds and tons of varieties of foodstuff, both the indigenous ones and the new ones and the imported ones. But we'll be doing a disservice to ourselves if we don't plan our meals using this 6 food guide pyramid, so that we're able to incorporate and consume all of them together at the same time, so that the optimum benefit of spending so much money and time preparing the food is not lost. So the key is to use the food groupings in selecting our foods and ensuring that all foods from the 6 food groups are selected. I'm advocating at least 3 from each group, and this will help us to prepare adequate meals and meet our daily nutritional requirements to make us healthy and be alive to pursue our family objectives. Thank you very much for listening. I hope I've been able to add value to our family meals at this presentation. Thank you very much, and I commend our friend for this opportunity.
Thank you, Doc. Yeah, and the aim of our friend to bring this bridge is to resonate the fact that the science of food will not get to our home if we not build the bridge of home economics, because the home is where food is served. So if we have a field that understand the science and also understand how the home operates, and who is able to now link it together, I think we should always work in partnership, and that's the essence of my own earlier presentation, that we should always form clusters, because if the education gets to home meal preparation, that is, the science goes into meal preparation, it wouldn't matter whether it is expensive or not. I mean, healthy food is expensive, but what you are trying to advocate, if I get your point very well, is that meal planning can actually address that. You can get cheaper alternatives, and once you understand the strengths and weakness of each nutrient, you will know how to process them to get the nutrient out of it ultimately. Then also, the cheaper alternative to different kind of essential nutrients. If you have the idea and the knowledge about it, you can source for your cheaper alternative and still enjoy the nutrient in there. But this knowledge needs to get out, and that's why we must always organize, have our conversation and implementation strategy in clusters together, so that we can better deliver to the society that needs us. All right.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much for joining this session, and thank you to all our presenters for the discussion as well, and for those who asked questions. So day 3 tomorrow, the last day of the ANH Academy week. So please find time to join any of the sessions holding tomorrow. And if you'd like to explore the full ANH 2022 program, please do so on our website. I've just posted the link into the chat box now. All right, everyone, have a great evening or afternoon, wherever you are, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Bye.